what would you say? There's got to be like 5 million, but what's the one fight? I know you heard that question a million times, but what's the one fight that you ref that really stuck out? That by the time the fight was over, you went to your locker room, you sat down, and you said, "Boy, that was a hell of a fight, man." What's that fight for you?
Well, there's been a few, Hans, but the one that I share with people is when Tyson Fury fought Deontay Wilder, the second fight. Now, those guys in that fight did no different than what welterweights or middleweights or lightweights would do. But what made that fight for me challenging was dealing with their size. Because the night of the fight, they said Tyson Fury was, well, he's 6'9". They said he weighed around 270. And they said Deontay Wilder, he's 6'7". He was around 240. So you got a combined weight of 510, 12 pounds in the ring. And I'm just 180 pounds soaking wet. So I have to manage that fight.
Yeah. Side note real quick, do you like hit the gym a lot to like you just like, man, I gotta
Yes,
gotcha. Okay.
yes, I do. Yeah, I go to the gym, I stay in shape. I do a lot of upper core workouts so that when I do get that particular fight, I'm prepared for it.
Mm, okay. Would you say there's a big difference between how a referee now as opposed to when you started all those years ago? Is there like a big difference?
Yeah, one of the big difference that I didn't get to experience, because when I got appointed as a referee back in '91, they were at the verge of well, they had already started with referees. See, referees back in the day used to be the third voice. They had two judges at ringside, and then the referee was the third voice. At the end of each round, he would take out his own personal scorecard and he would score the fight and put that personal scorecard back in his pocket. They've changed that, as you know, and it's just three judges now. The referee don't score it anymore.
Yeah.
They felt that a referee has a lot more to uh, uh, to have his act together by not having to have to stop fighters from hitting low, watching heads, holding, all the things we have to do, and score it as well. Another thing that changed, just kind of as I was getting into the game, was the number of rounds. It was 15 rounds, and just as I was entering the game, they changed it from 15. I'm talking for world title fights.
Yeah.
They changed it from 15 rounds to 12 rounds. That was a change. And then another change was um, they changed the size of the gloves on the basis of what your weight was. See, fighters used to always wear 8-ounce gloves. And actually, before then, it was 6-ounce gloves. And then it went to 8-ounce gloves. And because of the size of the hands, and because these guys are getting bigger and bigger, um, I believe the rule now is that anything above welterweight,
Yeah.
where it's 10-ounce gloves,
Mhm.
and anything below that can wear 8-ounce gloves. So those have been the rule changes that they've had, that they've made over the last several years, 20, 25 years, for again, the safety of the sport.
Now I know, I know, when you're refereeing a fight, you're not looking at a fight like, hey, yeah, this guy won this round, this guy won that round, this guy, whatever, whatever. I know you're not doing that. You're watching the fight, making sure the guy does what he's doing. But what fight in your career where you was just like, man, listen, I'm happy it went all the distance, everybody came out fine, but this fighter right here beat this fighter. And then you get to the middle of the ring, and then they call the other fighter. If they're a fight where you're just like, what? That was not right. What fight is that if you could say it?
Or as far as the score outcome.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I try not to get into um, judging. Now, do I have a sense of who's winning the fight? Sure, I do, because I'm in there.
Yeah.
Especially if there's a knockdown or two, or if a fight gets staggered. In my mind, am I saying this guy is winning? I actually only use it for reasons of safety. Um, but as far as what the judges see, and I'll tell you this, Hans, if it's a close round, and I say this on Zoom calls all the time, a person sitting in the stands that has had a beer or two and they're 30, 40 feet or sitting up in the nosebleed section can adequately, on a very close round, make a decision on who won that round. It is impossible for them to do. Or they can say, oh, the guy in the red trunks won. And that's a 50-50 chance. 50-50. Because it's just two guys fighting. So for me, I don't try to get into the judging part. Have I been in a fight that was so lopsided that when they said the scores, I was like shocked? No.
Mm.
Have there been some close ones? Yes. Because people, fans, when it comes to the close fights, they're hard to judge.
Yeah.
They're very difficult to judge. And when after 3 minutes of total concentration, you have to write down on a piece of paper 10-9, 10 to the winner and 9 to the loser, and give that slip to the referee that comes by and takes it out of your hand. You can't think, oh, well, maybe I should have gave it to the other guy, or maybe should I, and have thoughts on what you saw. You got to know what you see when it happens.
So for people that don't know, um, not referees, are judges allowed to go back and switch their, like they wrote 10-9,
No,
then they're not allowed to switch. Nope.
they're not allowed to. Once they put that score on that piece of paper, that's it. That is it. And I'll tell you this, Hans, I've attended some judges seminars where it's a room full of judges. And they will put up on the big screen a close round of two fighters. So close that they turn the sound down so that now the judges cannot hear what the commentators are saying.
Mm.
And if there are 50 judges in that room and they score it, and they get someone to collect all their scores, and they add it up, do you think it's all 50 gave it to the same person?
Of course not. Of course not.
No. Do you think that 45 might have gave it to the same guy and 5 might have given it to the other guy?
Nah,
No.
not even close.
Do you think that 40 might have gave it to the guy in the red corner and 10 might have gave it to the guy to the blue corner? No.
I would guess like 28 to
Yeah,
22.
you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. Some will have scored the round even, And yeah, and that's how difficult judging is on the close rounds. But people don't understand that. They just think that, oh, this guy won that round and they're sitting 30 feet away and they've had a couple of beers or whatever they're doing at the time and that they are experts on judging, and they're not.
Is there is there any fighter that you look at today, the young bloods, man, like Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, Jerron Boots Ennis, any of these guys where you're just like, yo, I know he's young, but that cat right there, he could have hanged with some of the guys in the 80s, the 90s. He could hang with some of the pound for pound guys right now. And I ask you that because I'm just like, a lot of people, I don't know if I want to say a lot of people, but a good number of people, I would say, would love to see Jerron Ennis fight Terrence Crawford. And they're just like, they feel like, yo, Jerron is on that level. So do you look at some of these young guys and say, he's young, but boy, I'm telling you, that kid different right there.
Hans, there is only a select few of fighters today that could fight back when the Sugar Ray Leonards and the Tommy Hearns and that weight division. There's a few fighters that could go back and fight those guys. Not a lot, but
Yeah.
there's a few. And we've mentioned, I mean, a Manny Pacquiao could go back and fight that era, or Floyd Mayweather could go back and fight that era. There's a few others that could go back and fight in that era because of their styles.
Could Terrence do it?
Terrence could do it, yes.
Okay.
Because what Terrence brings to his ability to fight is the fact that he can switch and go righty or lefty. See, being able to do that as a fighter gives you a very distinct advantage, because you're showing your opponent you can come at him at two different ways as opposed to whatever your conventional style is.
Yeah.
And when you can switch up, it just presents a different face-off. And while you're trying to figure it out, if you haven't figured it out, he can switch back. Yeah, Terrence could fight back in the other era.
Would you look at a guy, and I'm not saying you think he'll beat him, but do you look at a guy like Jerron Ennis and you're just like, yeah, I wanna see him fight Terrence Crawford? Because I already know that you think Terrence is special. But do you look at Jerron like he hasn't proven it yet, but I think that kid might be special too.
Well, that was another thing that I tried not to do in my career in reference to matchmaking, because uh, can that fight happen? Well, sure, it can happen. Will it happen? A lot of people, fight fans, get frustrated because when they want to see certain fights, they expect it to happen right then. Pacquiao Mayweather, for an example, took over 5 years before that fight took place. People were frustrated and upset, and they thought that once it did happen, we lost something from it because they wasn't more in their prime. So, with that being said, in the sport of boxing, you just got to wait till it happens and be patient. Because one of the biggest fights back in the day when I was a fan was to see Larry Holmes and George Foreman.
Hmm.
I thought that would have been a blockbuster of a fight.
Yeah.
It never happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So then what do? You move on. That's all you can do.
Do you believe that? Because I'm only trying to think of like fighters right now that are when they retire, they'll be Hall of Famers. Do you think that Canelo could have went back and fought some of those guys from the 80s, 90s, do you look at him like he is a historically great fighter? Or do you look at him and just be like, I don't think he could have went back and fought those guys, but he's still a great fighter for today.
Um, he is obviously a great fighter of today. Um, could he have fought back in the earlier eras? Sure, he could have. How successful he would have been, that's the question mark. How successful?
You tell me.
Because again,
You know more boxing than I'll ever know, so you tell me.
it's about the weight division. Like I was saying earlier, when Floyd fought in the lighter weights, I thought it was fantastic when he started going up in weight and wasn't having that same punching power. He had to do things a little different, and that's the markings of a great fighter. He knew he wasn't going to have the same punching power, so he had to make some adjustments, which he did. And the fighter that can take his style and make the adjustments as to what suits him best in the weight class that he's fighting at says a whole lot about um, his capabilities, what he's able uh, to adjust to, and how successful he's going to be. Hans, I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I muted myself real quick. I was gonna say, is there a fight today that hasn't happened yet? Um, but you just like from your standpoint, you're just like, I gotta see this fight, man. Like David Benavidez versus Canelo. Like, I gotta see that fight. Like, maybe this one's a little bit well, like Gervonta Davis versus Shakur Stevenson. I gotta see it. Devin Haney versus Teofimo Lopez. I gotta see it. Like, what fight is there for you where you're just like, yo, I'm a complete fan. I don't know who gonna win this. I gotta see it.
All the ones that you have mentioned and more. I'd like to see Anthony Joshua fight Deontay Wilder. I'd like to see Anthony Joshua.
You still want to see that fight? You still
Yes,
okay.
yes. And though um, well, Joshua it looked better in his last fight. Deontay Wilder didn't look better. I don't know what his story is, but I would still want to see the fight because um, uh, um, Joselito Lopez fought. Um, I actually saw him fight in Arizona. He lost his title. They were saying he's washed up and all the stuff that the media says. And then he comes out and he fights this kid in Phoenix, Arizona, and he looks great and wins a title back. So yeah, Deontay Wilder didn't look good, um, but matching him up with Anthony Joshua, I think would he could rise to the occasion on that fight. Still got the knockout ability. This kid that he last kid that he fought was able to read him, know what to do to keep him off balance, and score like he did. But I still think that Deontay Wilder, with his skills, have the ability to make a good fight with Anthony Joshua. And I'll tell you this about this Usyk kid. Now, I refereed Usyk about 5, 6 years ago, and when he was cruiser, light heavyweight or
No,
cruiser,
cruiserweight. Yep, cruiserweight.
cruiserweight, and I didn't think. I mean, he won the fight that he did, that he fought, and I thought that he did a good job. I thought that he was very skilled, highly skilled, actually. And when he decided to go up in weight, which is always questionable, my mind thought was that he'll be a small heavyweight, and the size of these heavyweights today, he won't last. But he has held his own. He has looked good. So I believe the fight has been signed between him and Tyson Fury,
Yep.
which is I think it's going to be an interesting fight. Because though Tyson Fury may not have the same skill set, which I think he does, Usyk is going to bring his youth, his athletic ability, and this that could be a awesome fight to watch, I believe.
Anybody you leaning toward in that one, or
No, yeah, as a referee, one of the things, Hans, that we could not do is I started out as a fight fan back in the day, and when I became a referee, um, I couldn't be the same fight fan I was before I became a referee because I could pick the fighters that I like. Like I like Muhammad Ali, I like Larry Holmes, those kind of fighters. I had to stop because I don't want my work to be affected on the basis of who I desire. So as referees, when people come up to me and say, "Who's your favorite fighter?" I don't have a favorite fighter because there could be a chain link from that favorite fighter as to who's training. If it was, I mean, there's so many scenarios that goes with liking a fighter that I just don't like. I mean, back in my day, it was Muhammad Ali. Other than that, now I refereed Layla Ali when she was fought for a title and won. Someone could easily say, well, if Kenny Bayless likes Muhammad Ali, he's going to favor Layla Ali because that's his daughter. He's going to favor her.
yep.
That's the world we live in today.
Fair point. That's a fair point.
So yeah, so I just yeah, and I'm retired now. I just want to see a good contest. Is what I want to see. I want the fighters to get in the ring and get out of the ring on their own power. That means that they're safe. And if those two things can happen, then I'm thankful and grateful that I was there to experience a fight of that magnitude.
Let me ask you this. Um, some people in the Caleb Plant versus David Benavidez fight, some people will be like, well, Kenny let Caleb hold too much. There were some people from David Benavidez's team that would, come and tell me that, like, yeah, we won, but we would have got the stoppage if Kenny didn't let him hold so much and whatever. So, like, what kind of goes into like your thought process when it comes to stuff like that with holding? Do you look back at that fight and say, I probably let Caleb hold a little too much, and does like that outside criticism affect your performance and like the following fight?
It does not perfect my performance, Hans. I've tried to be consistent in the way I referee when I started back in 91 to the present date. And yeah, you could take that fight and critique it and said that I might have let him get away with a few more holes than what I should have. But to say, oh, I would have knocked him out if he hadn't been. You can't even make that statement because you don't know. You don't know if I had broken him a little more. And well, talking and debating about it, uh, um, there were a few things that Benavidez happened to be doing as well in the fight, but
I mean,
his
elaborate if you can,
well,
if you would,
well,
if you.
he yeah when well, let me put it this way: two wrongs don't make a right, and if your fighter is not doing something or is doing something that you disagree with, you express it and then let me handle it. That's why I'm in there. But if you start doing stuff to add to what he's doing, then as a referee, I have a choice to make. Do I make the choice of start taking points from both sides, or do I have a choice to just let it play out? And I made the choice to just let it play out. Now, if the other side hadn't been doing what he was doing, then that may have been reason for me to break him sooner or take a point. But to say, oh, I would have knocked him out if he wouldn't have let him hold so much, that is, to me, is like a blanket statement. You can make that statement, but you don't know.